Professor Ellis Cashmore is a sociologist and author of Dictionary of Race and Ethnic Relations. Ellis, afternoon to you. I mean, let's just put the question to you like that. How do you think this man managed to find a racist component in the celebrations around the life of Captain Tom Moore? Afternoon.
I don't think it'd be too difficult, and I'm not kidding you now, but this morning I was saying to my missus, this guy is so incredibly popular. I can't think of a more popular character since Princess Diana, really. And I said, this has got to happen. Somebody is going to have a pop at him and they're going to find a reason to calling him something. I didn't know he'd be called a symbol of white nationalism, but that's an obvious one when you think about it. Yeah. I said, somebody somewhere. And I laughed about it. We were just joking. I said, somebody is going to have a go at this guy. And I said, and the world is going to fall in on this person, whoever he or she is. And it's happened.
Yeah.
The guys had to apologize. But I genuinely do think that Sir Tom has become, I know you don't like it, and you just heard you say a minute ago that you don't like this phrase, the cult of Sir Tom. But there is a kind of a cult following for him.
No, what I meant was when it's used as a kind of pejorative. That was my point.
Because he has become a symbol.
Yeah, indeed.
Of defiance, of resolution, of determination. And of course, that applies today, but also the guy has a link with the Second World War. And of course, the spirit of defiance was very much in evidence then. So this is the reason why he's become so popular and has become a symbol. I don't think he's necessarily become a symbol of white nationalism, but he's become a symbol of defiance. And I see nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, indeed. But if people want to construct an argument, as you know, Ellis, they will find ways of doing it. And for some reason,
and there are obvious ways of doing it, Ian. I think if you'd have charged me with this responsibility earlier today and said, okay, construct an argument that purports that Tom was a symbol of a certain kind of nationalism that has historically roots in imperialism and white privilege and domination and exploitation, I could probably do it. It wouldn't take me a lot,
But that's what this guy's done, isn't it? That's
a diagram kind of thing.
The Reverend Jarel has done exactly that.
Yeah. And the guy himself, I'm sure, would have been not only embarrassed, but appalled by the fact that he is being called a symbol of white nationalism. Let's face it, the guy is an ordinary man. He is an ordinary Englishman who I believe is a patriot. He didn't want to be a symbol. He wanted to raise money for charity.
Sure.
And he didn't design this. We did. The rest of us, we responded to him in a very positive way, in a loving way, and a way in which we saw in him elements of who we wanted to be. I know that sounds very pompous when I say it like that, but I do think it's true. I think, the people who saw in him everything that's good about Britain, and they wanted to relate to him, and that's why it became so popular. So I think that this is an incredibly insensitive thing to do.
What do you think
I understand the argument, but I don't buy it.
Indeed. What do you think, Ellis, is going on then in the minds of somebody who sets out to construct an argument around all those elements? I said at the beginning, if you look at what's going on here, you've got a war hero, you've got an NHS hero now thrown in there as well. It's a bygone era, an old white soldier, the knighthood thrown in, national pride. All of this clearly sent the Right Reverend over the edge for some reason. But why is that? Is it not just about the empire, surely?
Yeah, you'd have to be pretty dim, even if you believed all that stuff, to articulate it publicly, because the world is going to collapse on you. You open your mouth, let alone tweet it. You're not going to get a positive reaction. People saying, well done, somebody's actually spoken out against Sir Tom, and good on you, mate. He knew that wasn't going. If he thought that was going to happen, well, he shouldn't be in the job that he's in, let's face it, because his understanding of the world outside is woefully off key. So he must have at least suspected that he was going to provoke an argument. I'm guessing that what was going through his mind was that what we've seen over the past several months, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement has gained momentum throughout the world. And obviously, you know, a great many of in fact, all the arguments as I see them are perfectly valid and have provoked a completely new narrative. And I accept all that. I don't accept necessarily that bringing all the statues down was a good thing. I think some of them, you know, I think that it was bracing and stimulated an argument about Britain's past, their imperial history and the oppression of peoples in far-flung parts of the world. And the whole concept of the British Empire has come into question. I don't see that as a bad thing, but I don't think choosing Sir Tom as the pin on which to hang these kind of arguments.
I think you're right. I think that's what he's done. I mean, I would disagree, Ellis, in the sense that
I think he's just made.
I sense a lot of what's been going on lately has sort of taken race relations back maybe sort of 20 years or so. Ellis, thank you. Ellis Cashmore, Professor of Sociology and author with us here on Talk Radio. And he's spot on, because I think that's exactly what the Reverend did. I think he's kind of correlated all of that, and the hysteria where there seemed to be a political determination to pretend that race relations in this country was somehow like Mississippi in 1977, despite all the progress and the diversity and the equality. I mean, you'd have to be as thick as mince to seriously believe that the race issues in this country, and nobody but a fool would deny there is work in progress here and a shed load of work to be done. We can be clear about that. But the idea that it ain't got any better, the idea that no progress has been made, you've only got to look around institutions, the TV, the world of music, sport in particular, to see the industrial scale moves in that respect. But you know what? There's a contingent in that argument that not only doesn't want to believe it, it's in their interest to pretend that hasn't actually happened, that we are back there, because that keeps the arguments alive and well. The sense of injustice for some people is fuel in their belly. It's what gets them out of bed in the morning. If there is an agenda of iniquity, that will absolutely spark them into action. And I wonder whether this Reverend has somehow kind of psychologically just chimed into that a little bit. I thought there was a lot going on here. The Black Lives Matter issue. I mean, think about how that almost sprang out of nowhere. And the destruction of so much work that has caused has been so vast, we hardly touch on it. And social media is not, as I keep saying, it's not the Oracle of Delphi. It's not the place you necessarily go to if you want the definitive answer to all of your questions. Because there are echo chambers, and there are more echo chambers, and then there are echo chambers of echo chambers, and there's misinformation and fake news and all the rest of it. So it's not the best place to go. But I think when you begin to pick it apart, you start to realise that actually what has happened in the last year has been, on balance, very destructive to racial harmony in this country. Football in particular, where we're now talking as if it is 1976 because of half a dozen half-wits and racists on social media, it seems. 0344 499 1000. Nobody should downplay or ignore any of those real issues, but what we shouldn't be doing is defining our country and our culture and our spirit by them. So when Tom Moore comes along, I think the Reverend looks at that and thinks, oh, blimey, here we go. Look at this. It's like the old empire again. Here he comes, the old white sea dog. Nationalism, culty, knighthood, soldier, medals, empire. Ugh, I hate all this. And he's correlating when there's nothing to correlate.